Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Q&Play, my monthly Q&A series where I answer your questions in a rambly, unscripted format. The first question comes from Shake That Cake, 2667. Me and my boyfriend recently made the bonsai tree Lego set, the one with the pink frogs, and I was wondering what was your favorite Lego black box set to build? I assume you mean like Lego Ideas sets, and if that's what you do mean, then this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous jazz quartet build is by far my favorite. It's one of my favorite Lego sets of all time. It is very, very simple and very, very nice. But if you're talking about just sets with that black box collector aesthetic in general, I mean, I would also be split on Rivendell, this ginormous Rivendell build, or the collector's edition T-Rex Rampage build, which I also keep in my room. All of these sets are all in my room because I just love them. Whenever I wake up, I look at them and go, wow, those are gorgeous. And every one of them was so much fun to build. But, I mean, in terms of which one I just think is just really personally sentimental to me, I mean, I don't know, man. That Jazz Quartet is just so nice. Of all the Lego Idea builds I own, it's just so simple and so elegant. Each and every one of these jazz players is portrayed so well. The builds are so creative. This piano is just amazing, except for the fact that it sometimes just falls apart whenever it wants to, but that's neither here nor there. It's just such a good build. Love it so much. And therefore, yeah, I'll put it up there in my favorites. Though, you know, it does have to compete with Rivendell and Giant T-Rex, so hard competition. Next question from Kim VW2PQ. Do you have an opinion on the new MCDM tabletop role-playing game? So, this person is asking about Matt Colville's new TTRPG, and yes, I do have an opinion. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. Of course, I don't know that it's going to be good because I haven't played it. I read all of their material. I'm interested in what they're doing. I like what I see so far. But of course, the game could turn out to be really bad, so who knows? You guys know I think Flea Mortals, the MCDM monster book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you guys know I think that book is perfect in every way, and I stand by that opinion. However, I do think their other works, like Kingdoms of Warfare for example, they struggle with the fact that it's not its own game. I told my friends this, and I also said this, I believe, in my review of Kingdoms of Warfare way back in the first ever video I did with my face fully in it. But yeah, in that video, I felt like Kingdoms of Warfare was kind of divorced from the rest of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It feels like its complete own thing, and that's why I felt like it could never be introduced into the vanilla game, just because it rarely integrates into what you're regularly doing at the game, and just feels like you pivoted to playing something completely different. And you know what? That's cool. I really like it, but when I'm looking at modules and stuff, I want it to be integrated into the base game in some major way, other than sharing some skill checks and also granting players certain abilities they can use in normal D&D combats. I felt like often Kingdoms of Warfare was divorced. However, of course, in MCDM's own game, this might not be a problem anymore. I mean, they're building what they're building from the ground up, meaning that they don't need to worry about integrating with anything else. So that flaw goes away. So hopefully, with the only problem I have with MCDM's work being gone, I hope they're going to be able to make something really, really special here. Am I going to switch to playing it regularly? I don't know. My friends seem tentatively interested, but frankly, we all really enjoy what we're doing, and I'm not going to force them to play something if they don't want to. If they enjoy what we're doing, they enjoy what we're doing. I enjoy what I'm doing. I mean, I'm doing a lot of my own homebrew stuff. Almost all of the bosses that we use nowadays, they're all completely made by moi. I really like making stuff in D&D 5th edition, and of course, learning how to homebrew in a whole new system might be a bit of a pain in the butt. However, either way, I am looking forward to it. I did pre-order all the physical copies, which cost like $200 frickin', so it was definitely something I invested in, and clearly something I am interested in. Next question comes from Sailor Grell. Who's your favorite Baldur's Gate 3 boss? It would be easier to talk about all my least favorite Baldur's Gate 3 bosses, because there's quite a few of them. Honestly, I think boss encounters are where Baldur's Gate 3, at least in normal mode where I played, where it was the most, like, whatever. It's not that they were bad, it's just that I didn't feel like I was fighting a boss. It's the same thing with Cyberpunk 2077. Both of the tabletop games turned video games that I played, both had bosses I thought were, you know, they existed. In terms of my favorite Baldur's Gate 3 boss, I will have to say Raphael and also Ansur are both pretty fun fights. I like how both of them being endgame fights force you to invest in your abilities. However, Raphael in particular I like because it rewards you for doing certain things, like investing in persuasion to persuade Yrgir to fight by your side, or saving Hope from the dungeons of his fortress. Those both are really cool things to help you out in this battle. It rewards you for taking action before the fight, for preparing to face the devil. And also the music is just amazing. My only problem is the arena is kind of just whatever. It's like the doorway to his place. I didn't feel like it was epic enough for me, at least. Even the fight against the Absolute, a fight I found to be bland and really easy, that fight was in a really cool set piece. I mean, you're on top of a giant nether brain. I got the Emperor flying down in the dragon. I mean, that's just epic. Like, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to good set pieces. Raphael has fun mechanics, but I do feel like from a presentation standpoint, other than the music, I felt like there could have been more. Also, why does the Absolute get to beg for its life, but Raphael just drops dead? Like, that's so lame. Come on, I want to hear this guy plead to me to live. But yeah, you know, I'm gonna kill him either way. Though, for some reason, even though I definitely blew that guy's head off with an Eldritch Blast, he did appear in like the final cutscene at the very end of the game. So, what the heck, Larian? Is he dead or not? Question from RadiusIgnus. Do you find it exhausting producing as much content as you put out regularly? You're very consistent in your updates, which we appreciate, but burnout is tough to manage. Honestly, the thing that contributes most to my burnout isn't the channel itself. At the end of the day, I'm very efficient with how I make content. I have a very set and good schedule. And while yes, it has been difficult to get these horror stories out on the regular as I do because of how much they've changed, I still do enjoy it. The good thing about working more on RPG horror stories is I think the videos are better. I used to just read Reddit posts, which is okay. I think that's fine. But now RPG horror stories has way more commentary and live action skits, which means that there's way more editing. Now I edit like 8 to 10 hours just on horror stories. I mean, it's crazy because I used to view Tabletop Tavern Tips as the more challenging edit, but Tabletop Tavern Tips and Q&Play, those take me like sub 2 hours to edit nowadays, just because I've gotten way more efficient. I've gotten better at this job, and that means I can just do more. With horror stories, even though they take longer, the addition of the skits and the bits, I mean, it makes it fun to edit. Like, when I really get into an RPG horror stories edit, I mean, I'm into it. There's nothing better than, like, falling into that flow. The main thing that contributes to my burnout is honestly just life stuff getting in the way of work. I hate when unexpected crap just kicks me in the butt. Like, right now, I need to get my wheels realigned on my car, so I have to schedule an appointment for that, and I gotta wait for my car to get back, and that's gonna take forever. I also need to get my laptop repaired. That's going to take a while, and oh my god, now I'm not going to be able to work on certain things because I won't have my laptop. And all these life things, they just get annoying because I do have a tight schedule, and I like sticking to it. I'm just a creature of habit, you know, what can I say? I do make sure to take days off. Monday, Friday, my sacred don't work on these days. Overall, I don't work 40 hours a week. I'm in the mid-30s, somewhere there, which is a good amount for a full-time job, I think at least. I also do have other stuff going on in my life. I mean, I live alone, which means I have to maintain my own place. I don't got anyone else to help me. I have to feed myself and do groceries and all that stuff, so I gotta handle all that too. So, yeah, I think overall, I'm at the limit. Like, I will say that I can't do anything more right now. Like, if I, for example, start an actual play at this very moment, I would explode. We are at the limit for what I can currently do with the channel. It's all about now tightening down and figuring out what stuff I want to change to make more efficient so that I can do other stuff. It's all about taking breaks and having variety in your work. If I wasn't doing the skits, I think I would be burned out. If I didn't have Monday and Friday off, I think I would be burned out. But thanks to those things, I managed to upload consistently, but also enjoy what I'm doing. Question from Eliha Mishmash 8734. I think I got that. When you write character backstories for in-game sessions, do you write with your players or do it yourself? My current DM likes to write with their players, and all the character-driven sessions have gone wonderfully. My other DM, who got me into D&D, is currently handling it himself. To be frank, he's homebrewing our final campaign for these characters, while asking us for small details and if there's anything we'd like to incorporate. I've gotten the inspiration to start doing this when my campaign starts, so I suppose my question is, which method do you use and why? Not really either one. I let them write their backstories and then I give them critiques. I will say, I also have a fully homebrew world, and so there are certain things that the players are not aware of. Like, for example, Avernus is not a location in my world. If you say, my tiefling fought in the fields of Avernus, that's not a thing, so that's obviously going to be very awkward. This also unfortunately comes up in roleplay as well. Like, for example, in my world, devils are not wheelers and dealers for the most part. Most devils are fanatical warriors dedicated to ending all life in existence so they can bring about a final god at the end of time. That's what devils are. They don't make deals, they just kill you. There are rogue devils who exist in the world who want to preserve mortal life under their control, but those are advocatus diaboli, hell's heretics. And sometimes players don't understand that. Like, they write a tiefling backstory that has like the courts of hell involved and all of these systems of hell that make sure the tiefling is in this deal with a certain devil, and those aren't really a thing. There's no courts of hell, etc., etc. All of these things are not elements that exist in my world, and frankly, they're not elements I'm interested in adding in. So there are times where I need to reconcile with a player like what we want to add and what we want to remove to fit into the story that we want to create together. It's all about collaborating. I'm not just going to tell them no. I'm going to tell them, okay, we can try that, but let's do this spin on it. So what I'm trying to say is I do get the appeal of writing a character backstory, just yourself. And also, the other big thing with that is that some players just don't want to do homework. They don't want to write up an essay for their character, and they just want you to do it. And you know what? That's cool too. But I find that players who write out a backstory, they're just going to be more rewarded when you get to the actual game. They don't need an essay, but they do need something. What I do is this. I always call my players, usually one-on-one, and just ask them, what kind of character do you want to make? And then we brainstorm together. Therefore, I can solve any misconceptions that happen with my homebrew, and me and the player can both together get hyped about our characters. I just filmed an episode of Tavern Adjacent where Fall Cosplay, Nixie from One For All, she and I were creating a character together because she is joining a mini campaign of mine. And you can see this process happen. You can see her come up with the idea, you can see me getting excited, and while we didn't go too in-depth about it because, you know, we're doing this for a show, we don't want to spoil everything, it was a rewarding process. You don't always need a write-up. Sometimes it's okay to let the player do the write-up, but if you want to help the player out, I think talking is the best way to do it. Though, of course, just do whatever you think is best. This is just a me thing. Question from Antonio Mares, 4958. Hey, first time question. I just started being a DM more, and my party is fairly huge, 10 player characters. Any tips on how to handle that? Been only DMing for 2 years. Don't. I'm kidding. Well, only kind of. I would never DM for 10 people. I'm not gonna lie. I've been DMing since oh geez, I don't even know at this point. It's been a while. So I will say, even as a guy who has been DMing for a fairly long time, regularly, with lots of practice, I don't think I could do 10 people, man. I just don't think so. I mean, Matt Mercer himself, I've seen him try to DM for 10 people, and he's still good. He's Matt Mercer. But you can definitely see where he struggles. There are problems with DMing for 10 people. It's just a lot. Combat balance is just a freaking nightmare. Waiting for turns becomes insufferable. I think role-playing isn't that bad with 10 people if you have a group that are unified and together. I mean, on Critical Role, at least the roleplay wasn't that bad, but combats with 10, oh, it's just a lot. Keep in mind, I'm a very combat-oriented DM. You know, role-playing is something that I don't usually think about until I get to the table. You know, I come up with characters, but in terms of role-playing, it usually just goes fine for me, so I don't worry about it. But combat is something I work on, something I work at. And so thinking about what balancing combat around 10 people would be like is just a nightmare to me. I'm not gonna lie, whenever I see this question on like a D&D subreddit, I do say, don't do that. Legitimately, downsize your party. But I mean, if that's not an option for you, I think splitting the group might be a good play for you, or reducing the amount of sessions that you have, like DMing every 2 weeks instead of every week, just so that it's easier for you to get more prep done, so that you have a more solid grasp of what the session is going to be, so you can keep these 10 people all entertained. The TLDR is, my solution is usually just quit, but my other solution would be find ways to prep more, or find ways to give yourself more time to prep. The bigger solutions would be like find a co-DM if that works for you, or split the parties, but I know that's not in the purview for everybody, so yeah. It's just a hard thing to answer, man. I'm not good at DMing for 10 people. I just don't think I'm a good person to answer this, I'm sorry. Final question from El Mosco. Do you have any tips on how to find inspiration to create something new and or interesting in an RPG? So usually my top advice, rip off whatever you're enjoying that week. I honestly get my best advice whenever I lean into whatever I'm currently loving. For example, that campaign I mentioned with Fall Cosplay, I came up with some of the ideas while playing Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. The gameplay you're seeing in the background is that same game. I really enjoyed the crap out of this game. It was incredible. The story was incredible. A character named Somi, a central character in the story, really resonated with me, and I wanted to create a character based on all those things. And so I started there. It obviously started as a blatant ripoff, but obviously I don't want to just rip off an already existing story. I want to do something more with it, even if I am taking blatant inspiration. So I start expanding out. What other stories do I want to take inspiration from? Phantom Liberty is a spy story. Let's expand out from that premise and then move out from there. And I came up with a really good story that involves a lot of neat noir elements and dark magics and evil demons. It's great, but it started with a ripoff. Start with what you're enjoying, what you currently love, what you're enthusiastic about. It's important to keep in mind that should be something that you think you're going to be enthusiastic about for a long time. I don't think I'm going to forget the story of Songbird anytime soon. Phantom Liberty is going to stick with me. I thought that while Cyberpunk 2077 was just pretty good, Phantom Liberty was genuinely incredible. And so, if I take inspiration from it, I don't think in a few months when I actually run this campaign, I'm going to be any less excited to do it. I'm genuinely extremely hyped. That enthusiasm, that gives me the inspiration. When I love what I'm creating, when I'm genuinely excited for what I'm creating, that is when I'm at my strongest. It's when I'm in that rut where I don't really care about the story I'm currently telling, that's when I'm at my least creative. Those times are inevitable, especially when you're running a multi-year long campaign. You're just going to find stories that don't interest you as much, and that's okay. It's important, though, to move on from those stories in time and get to stuff that you're more enthusiastic about. In my home game right now, we're doing this big-time rivalry story inside of a mercenary guild, and it's cool, it's nice, but in the next session, I'm going to be capping off the story to move on to something else, because genuinely, I want to do more stuff. You talk about new and interesting, but honestly, most of my ideas that are new and or interesting just come from ripping off stuff that's old. And you know what? That's fine. It's not because it's a ripoff, it's because I'm enthusiastic. It's that enthusiasm that gets you ready to really create something. All right, and that's going to be it for today's episode of Q&Play. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our RPG Horror Stories series, where we talk about the best of the worst of Dungeons & Dragons. And while you're there on the cards, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own questions or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment saving Songbird to reference the game I'm playing in the background and to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.